This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another one of our speaker series. Today is the 17th of June, and we're here with Peter Glick. Peter is an investor and an operating executive focused on life sciences, renewable energy, and philanthropy. He is also the chairman of Nano Imaging Services, which is also a leading CRO focused on cryo-electron microscopy for pharmaceutical and biotech clients. His latest venture was founding Rise Up Solar. Rise Up Solar uses financial engineering to enable nonprofits to purchase solar systems to reduce their electric bills and combat climate change. 100% of Rise Up's profits are donated to charities focused on aiding economically disadvantaged people and protecting the environment. Without further ado, Peter Glick, how are you today?
Fine. Great to be here. I was a scout myself for a long time, all through Cub Scouts and all through Boy Scouts, and also I was a scout leader when my sons were in Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts. So it's great to be on the call.
Great, thank you so much. Did you
Um,
did you enjoy Scouts? What was some of your favorite experiences?
I loved Scouts. I loved camping and hiking, and a lot of the activities that are done at base camp are sort of exactly the same activities that we did years ago when I didn't have any gray hair.
Which is just a couple of years ago.
Exactly.
That's great, thanks. Hey, out of curiosity, well, I'll let you take over. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing right now.
Sure. So actually, I heard that the first thing I should talk about is why I decided to get into business to begin with. You described a couple of the jobs that I have now, but I think also it might help for everybody to understand sort of why I chose a career in business up front. And there were sort of two things on my mind. One is when I was a scout, one of the things I used to love to do was I used to love to play games with my sister, with my mom, with my dad, and my favorite games were actually Monopoly and chess.
Oh,
And the thing that I loved about both of those is that I found that they were really sort of complex puzzles. When do you buy a property? When do you build a hotel? When do you build a house? Or how do you capture the other person's king or get an advantage on the chessboard? The thing that I used to love about games was that it was a puzzle that kept changing. It was a puzzle that would change sort of every time you'd go around the board or every time you'd make another move or your opponent would make another move. And for me, that was sort of endless fun. And I think that if a person is lucky, then they'll find that their job is fun. That they enjoy going to work every day. Um, some people aren't lucky enough to have a job that they enjoy going to every day, but I think everybody who is the age today of a scout should be trying to figure out in their head over the next whatever 5 or 10 years. Listen, when I'm in my 20s, how do I have a job that I really want to go to? We all got to go to work, but it's best to go to a place you want to go to. The other thing that was in my head about business at a time is, some people think about business as, these old guys just sit in a dark office and count money. And that's not it. I mean, there are a bunch of old guys in a bunch of different places who do sit in dark offices and count money, but that's not what you want to do. I don't think, anyway. The cool thing about business is that in our society, businesses are what we use to sort of organize ourselves and bring new products or services to market. And they can be things that you love. Now, everybody loves different things, right? I mean, some people love ice cream. Other people, like restaurants, but everything is organized that way. Even things that aren't so much fun, like a hospital that you might go to, or that your mom or dad or brother or sister might go to. A hospital is organized just like a business, actually. So when we think about a business, what we need to think about is not the money aspect. A good business will make money, yeah, but the real thing, the thing you're doing every day, is figuring out how to bring what I would hope is some cool new product or service to the world.
That's great. Thank you so much. And it's so true too. And throughout some of these merit badges that we teach, that's one of the points, like inventing merit badge. Coming up with a new idea and bringing some new business.
Exactly. Actually, if you think about it, so merit badges. I mean, even when I was a kid, I think there was something like 120 different merit badges. I'm going to guess that there are more than that today. But in a lot of ways, merit badges are a cool way to sort of think about different careers that you might like. I mean, if you just about every one of them is set up for you to think about how to keep pursuing this in the future. If you love environmental science or love chemistry merit badge, think about science. If you, I'm going to run out. If you love citizenship in the community or citizenship in the nation or citizenship in the world, think about going into politics or public service of some sort. But merit badges are a great way to sort of try things out, sort of put your toe in the water and see, hey, do I like this way of thinking or not?
Were there any merit badges or throughout your scouting career, do you think that influenced you in the direction that you went into in terms of, being an investor or a business person?
I have to confess, no. I mean,
well, they don't have an merit badge.
my favorite merit badge was still the first one I earned, which was rowing. But I have spent a lot of time rowing and canoeing and kayaking and that sort of thing. And I liked swimming and I liked the life-saving merit badge. But no, I have to admit I didn't appreciate sort of the idea of what I would end up doing. Like there is an American business merit badge, I think, something like that. I didn't do it, but I have to say I looked at it a couple of weeks ago when I was asked to do this call, and I thought, boy, that actually now to me that looks like a fun merit badge. But maybe it's hard to perceive as fun if you are 12 or 15 years old. I don't know.
That is true.
So I said before, you should choose something. If you're interested in business, choose something that you love. Choose something that you think is cool, right? I mean, you don't want to. The whole idea of business, in a way, is to get more of something in the world or persuade somebody to buy something in the world. So you want it to be something good, and good can be your definition, right? So I said before, if you love ice cream, okay, go into the ice cream business. That's cool. The thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to do something in healthcare. I mean, to me, if we can extend a person's life or if we can make a person healthier in one way or another, either because we're a doctor or a nurse or developing a new drug, or a lot of what I've done is developing new scientific instruments to measure a person's health, then that's really cool. So I got into this idea of what we'll call diagnostics, using a scientific instrument or using things in a laboratory to measure a person's health, because I thought, well, the thing about that is if the business does well, it's doing well because we've made somebody healthier. And that's what I wanted to do. But that's just me. There are other people who have different objectives, but each person, if they're going to go into business, should choose something that they love and care about. I'm going to get to the other business I'm working on in a couple of minutes, because there are shortcomings to business too. But does anybody have any questions so far on what I've said, or should I just keep going from there?
I've got none yet from the audience.
So anyway, I've talked about some of the cool things about business and some of the things that I really like about business. And actually, the other one, by the way, is our society in America really is based on business success in one way or another. A lot of the things that make this a more comfortable place to live than other parts of the world is because our businesses have done so well, But that is not to say that business in America is perfect. It is not. there are some fundamental problems with the way business works today, and I don't bring this up to sort of be a downer, but I bring this up because I think as scouts we should always be thinking about how to make the world a better place. So I'm going to give just a couple of examples, and then I'm going to talk about this new business that I'm working on after that, which is just sort of one way that I'm trying to address some of those issues. So one big problem with business today is, not all businesses are good. I mean, a world with more ice cream or more restaurants or more hospitals or more healthcare, okay, they're good, but and actually, I think that most things that make people a little bit happier or give them a little bit of joy in the day are good. But there are a lot of businesses that sell stuff that's bad, that no doubt make the world a worse place. Cigarette manufacturers, for example. You don't want to work for a place that is selling something that's going to make a bunch of people sick. That's just not good. That really, I mean, you might as well be sitting alone in a room doing nothing but counting money then, right? I mean, if you're going to work in business, find something you love and that helps people. So, and one definite problem is that there are too many businesses in the world today that don't help people. Either they sell products that are harmful or they cause too much pollution in the world, and that's just not right. Okay. So that's one serious problem. The other serious problem with our system, and this is very easy to see right now during this COVID epidemic, is businesses also in a lot of ways determine the way money in our society is distributed, or wealth in our society is distributed. And I have to say that as a business person, it is very easy to see that people at the top in terms of income in our society make too much money. People at the lower levels in terms of pay don't make enough money. And this gap between the rich and the poor is not good, and it is getting worse. So people should be free, I think, to sort of earn as much as they can in an honest way in a good business. Okay, that's great. But one of the issues that we have to address as a society, I think, is that we need to make sure that people are not left behind, and that is happening too much right now. We see it a lot, now, because so many people have lost their jobs. But even before this, it's not right. We need to work, I think, as a society and sort of close that gap between the people who have the most money and the people who have the least money. Anyway, to me, those are two fundamental problems with business, right? Some businesses really don't make the world a better place, and I hope that you will all sort of steer clear of those if you decide to go into business. And then, in general, we all need to figure out as whether we're business people or politicians or just ordinary citizens, how to make our system more fair. And I don't think it is quite fair enough today. So as part of my thinking on that, one of the things that I've been trying to do over the past few months is help small nonprofits in the area get solar energy. And the reason for that is sort of twofold. One is, our planet is warming up. I don't think that there's a global warming merit badge, but
not yet.
Not yet, but there should be. And this is a very real issue. And all of us, me included, are using too much oil and too many other fossil fuels. We all need to do whatever we can to reduce that amount. So I got solar panels on my house a couple of years ago, and when I realized what a good deal they are financially in terms of the money that comes back to a person who spends money on solar panels, I was really struck. And anybody, by the way, if you guys, go around, if you see anybody with solar panels on the roof, they're doing two things. One thing that they're doing is making the environment a little bit better, reducing the amount of oil that gets used to generate energy. The other thing, though, that those people are doing, they're earning money with the solar panels. Okay, it's like they have a small business up on their roof.
Okay.
And they earn very good profits doing that. But one reason they're able to earn profits is that they are able to afford the solar panels, the cash needed for solar panels on their roof. Another reason they're able to do it is that the government actually pays, if you pay taxes, if you are an individual, at the end of every year, your mom or your dad will send in a tax form, and they have to pay taxes to the federal government, to the United States and also to Massachusetts. And those taxes, of course, are things that pay for schools and other things that the government does. Anyway, the government, if you own solar panels, the government actually sends tax dollars back to you. Okay, they give you a reduction in your taxes, and that reduction in your taxes pays for a lot of the solar energy or upfront cost of the solar panels. But here's the dilemma. If you don't pay taxes, you can't get that deal from the government. Okay, so there are nonprofit organizations that do really good things. Now, a nonprofit organization, it's like a business that agrees never to make money because they want all the money to go to the people who are part of that nonprofit. So Scouts is a nonprofit organization. The YMCA is a nonprofit organization. The Boys and Girls Clubs are nonprofit organizations. The Food Bank, nonprofit organization. If you see a homeless shelter, that's a nonprofit organization. A church or a temple is a nonprofit organization. None of these places can put solar panels on their roof and get that benefit from the government. The government won't reduce their taxes because they're not paying any taxes to begin with. So what I did was I set up Rise Up Solar Corporation. And now, strictly speaking, we're a for-profit company, but we do two things. Because we're a for-profit company, we pay taxes. So what we can do is send the savings. We save money. Our price is less because we get a tax reduction. We charge less. We save money on that, and we give all of that savings to two groups. Primarily, we give it to the people who own the roof that we are on. Okay. The second group, if there's any profit left over after that, we donate that money to other nonprofits. So we're really excited about this. We're doing our first roof right now. It is the Watertown Boys and Girls Club, and that's going to be a really exciting project for us. Construction on that starts in just 2 or 3 weeks.
Wow.
So
I'm sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
So anyway, that's an example of something that, let's say, a scout could do, a business can do to, in a couple of ways, make the world a little bit better, right? So we're going to have a little bit less global warming, just a little bit. It's only one roof, right? We need to get everybody to do this. And we can also sort of narrow the gap a little bit between people who have plenty of money and people who don't have enough money today, because we're helping a nonprofit in doing that.
Thank you. So we have a question from one of our audience members here, Cynthia, and she
Great.
wants to know, her question is, how can the consumer contribute to the just model in the economy? Because you've been speaking a lot about business perspective, to which is she thinks great because she's focused in social justice and education nonprofit herself. But can you speak more from what she can do from a consumer standpoint, or what resources she can tap into?
Yeah. First, since the first question is from Cynthia, I have to say, one of the things that has made me happiest about Scouts over the past few years is that girls have now been allowed into Boy Scouts. I think that is so wonderful and so great. in other countries, they've been doing that for decades. There were girls and Boy Scouts, together in Europe and in other parts of the world for even in the 1970s. It's taken us in the United States too long to do that. So welcome, really excited for you, and happy to have you on the team and in the troop. So to your specific question, yes, everybody can do this. The way to do it is sort of, I think, to look for companies that you believe in and that you think are acting as good corporate citizens. And a lot of times you can see this on the websites, or you can see this in the newspaper. If you'll see an article of certain companies either donating to charity or doing what they can to be what would be called, let's say, a sustainable business to reduce the amount of pollution that they generate each year. And also, of course, to look for companies that you believe treat their employees very well.
Well, thank you. Actually, we had another question. So most of these merit badges, like usually the last requirement is, depending on what it is, like inventing or entrepreneurship. What kind of education and training did you go through in order to get to where you are today? What was your educational career path?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I have 2 degrees myself. One is a Bachelor of Science degree in economics, and I'm going to come back to that in a sec. And the other is I have a master's degree in management, what most people would call an MBA. What I would say is 2 things. First is, work hard in high school and go to the best college you can, and I really mean that. College teaches you a way to think, a process for thinking and understanding the world from all different directions, not just as a business person, but also as a person who understands history or understands ideas in literature or understands psychology. These things are all important to know. You don't want to be just sort of one-dimensional. It's important to be able to think from all different directions. And I would say the very best way to do that is to go to a good college. Now, within the college, what might you study if you want to go into business? For me, and I think probably most business people, economics would be a very, very good college major. And economics is sort of the study of business at 2 different levels. One is what's the puzzle? Remember I said before that I thought that business was like a puzzle, like chess or like Monopoly, sort of a game. One is what we call microeconomics, studies it very much at that game level. How do I sort of play the game, or how does a business sort of play the game to do as well as possible? And then there's another side of economics called macroeconomics. Micro, of course, is small, macro is big. And what that is doing is studying how do all the businesses together and our government and all the people sort of interact to make society as a whole better or sometimes worse. And there's sort of a natural business cycle, right? Like sometimes it'll feel like, oh, everybody's doing really well, and other times it'll feel like, oh, everybody's doing really badly. Right now, of course, it feels like everybody's doing really badly. But that sort of science of everybody doing well or everybody doing badly, and what's the cycle, the up and down, that's macroeconomics. So those are both really interesting. I'm glad I majored in them. Another interesting major for a business person is psychology, actually. And the reason for that is a lot of times in business, what you're trying to do is figure out, well, how to sell something, right? And when you want to sell something, you're describing to a person, well, how does this make you better off? Well, some ways something might make you better off is that you feel something inside, right? And that study of how a person feels inside, that's psychology. So those are the things that I might think of. But big picture, no matter what you major in, it really is important to get sort of a good, well-rounded education, both in high school and in college afterwards.
Thank you very much. So I was poking around trying to think of, like what characteristics do you think would make a good investor or a good business person?
Yeah, now those are two different things. So what an investor is trying to do is predict which business will do well. What a business person, and then they'll take money and they'll buy shares, they'll invest in a specific company, and if the company does well, then they make money. If the company doesn't do well, they lose their money. So, and then what a business person is trying to do is say, well, okay, I've got some resources available, right? I've got what I think is a cool new product or cool new service. I've got some money that the investors gave to me. I've got a team of people that can help me do this. I've got some customers. I've got some competitors. I think that the difference between the two, and I've done both at different times. The difference between the two is the investor is much more, let's say, very analytical, looking very closely at how do you solve the exact puzzle. And then the business person is sort of getting out there and actually doing it. So, if you like getting out there and actually doing it, sort of rolling up your sleeves and sort of being like in the middle of things, then you'd probably lean towards running a business or being part of a business itself. If you really just like focusing on your own thing, studying in your own way, understanding things in your own way, then I'd say an investor is probably more your thing to do.
So I love how you came up with the idea for the solar panels and what you're doing for nonprofits and giving back. And while we're talking about investors, I was also digging around and I saw a website called thebalance.com, which stated like the top 10 ways to become a better investor. And the first couple were kind of funny. So the first one is turn off the news and watch more Star Trek, which made me think about your solar panels. And then the other two or a couple were like treat your money like soap, and if you can't handle the heat, stay clear of the fire. What have you done personally to become a better investor, or how did you learn, and what made you dream up the whole solar panel company?
So those are so good. I have to take them one at a time. I'm going to forget the second one. Okay, so turn off the news and turn on Star Trek.
Yeah.
It's so cool. So one of the problems that we have today is that we are bombarded by news. Every time we turn around, somebody's trying to grab us and get our attention, right? I mean, and that's whether it is anytime you go online, somebody's trying to grab you and get your attention for 30 seconds, and somebody else trying to grab you and get your attention for 30 seconds. And actually, these guys, I mean, they measure themselves by how much of your attention they get. 30 seconds is good, 24 seconds is not as good. Well, what does that mean? So that's a problem. On the other hand, if you watch a great TV show or a great movie or read a great book, even better, that gives you a chance to sort of think and reflect. And thinking and reflecting is really important, because this whole time that you're like online, whatever site you're on, you're sort of responding to somebody else trying to stimulate you, right? So yeah, I agree. Turn off the news or watch the news, once for a few minutes each morning, and that's enough. And then enjoy Star Trek. It's really cool. And by the way, Star Trek is a better world, isn't it? I think I said before, we need to be working towards a better world. Star Trek is a better world.
Absolutely. Thank you. We're coming up on the end of our time here. What kind of advice would you give any young scout or anybody in general who might be interested in going into a field such as yours?
Yeah, I think the advice would be what I described before, which is work hard in high school, get into a good college, Take an economics course while you're there. If you enjoy it, take another and another after that. If you don't enjoy it, switch majors or something. Don't make yourself miserable, right? I mean, you need to be, to the extent that you're thinking about the future, think about a future that you would find, fun for you and that can help other people.
Thank you very much. And Cynthia wanted to say thank you. She said that you're hugely interesting and much. She really appreciates your energy and passion for making the world and society better.
Oh, great. Well, listen, I'm glad to be able to talk to everybody. If people have more specific questions or something like that, then, Chuck, I think you probably have my email. I'm happy to connect with any scout over email to help with anything.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Peter.
Okay, great. Nice talking to y'all. Bye-bye.
Nice talking to you. Take care.